episode of Flying Upstream podcast. We're here to celebrate the journeys of those who have walked the path less traveled. Today's episode is one filled with a lot of wisdom that can be very helpful to our listeners. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. And please comment. We want to know what you think. We love to hear your thoughts on the journeys of our fellow guests and their travels. Today's guest is Briana Osborn, who has overcome a tumultuous life filled with adversity, from growing up in an environment marred by addiction and abuse to facing bullying, eating disorders, and self-harm. Briana's journey has been incredibly challenging. Now, Briana is dedicated to addressing childhood wounds and deepening intuition while working to break generational cycles. Her journey is a testament to resilience and personal growth. Briana, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Okay, let's jump right into your story. So, help our listeners understand a little bit more about your childhood, your family background. They were far from ordinary, and there was some significant challenges and trauma. How did these early experiences shape your unconventional path? And give us a little more insight into that too.
So my mom had me young. I guess some wouldn't consider too young, but she had me at 20, I believe. So, and then it was funny enough, I had my daughter at 20. But my mom was in a relationship where my dad was an addict. He used drugs. He was an alcoholic and came from a long line of alcoholics. She stayed with him for 25 years of our life, which was something that I wish she never would have done. He just a lot of traumas went on with that when you grow up with an addict parent. And then luckily I had my mom because she was the total opposite, where she thought, would tell us smoking's bad and things like that. But my dad, I say typical, it's not normal. But, my dad would come home and break down our front door because my mom locked him out, or it was just very traumatic as a kid. And so there was a lot of things growing up that I guess I realize now that I didn't realize, is that I kind of put myself into a box of not believing I was important or that I was cared about, and that I was worthy of things. And so it just kind of seemed to get worse from there. Me and my mom didn't have a very good relationship through my teen years, and I was a terrible teen. But I faced bullying in high school to the point where it was terrible. I started self-harming. So that was a really hard part. I mean, it was really bad bullying to the extent where girls were writing nasty things on my locker, we just got phones, by the way. This was T9 texting, leaving voicemails on my phone to kill myself. Just awful. So I just noticed I was burying rather than dealing with it. And I would just, teens throw their hoodie on and keep going. I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell anybody what was going on. And that shell and those walls just kept building. Till I met my husband, which I met him at 14. I guess I've learned a lot about trauma bonding, but luckily our trauma bonding was in a very positive way for me. We both came from rough backgrounds, so we were able to connect on that. He faced abuse. I faced sexual abuse as a child as well from a family member. So we were able to connect, and he is to this day my best friend. So luckily I had him, and he was the only person that I've ever opened up to. And so that, for me, having something when I was such a low point in my life, and I don't want to I had depression, I had anxiety, I was at a point where I didn't want to live anymore. And he came along. And so I would say, and I literally fell into him at our local pool. So we have a pool in our little small town, and he was the new kid, and I literally fell onto him. So it was just he just came in my life, and he's been a huge part and impact of my life, where I'm very connected to him, and he's my person. So luckily with him, we had 2 beautiful kids. We've been together for 18 years the 26th of September. But in 2018, he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So when that happened, a traumatic event happened during that as well. He actually died on our kitchen floor, and I had to resuscitate him. And I went into, I guess, was my first panic attack, where I actually thought I was having a heart attack. And I had realized all of that trauma that I just pushed down came out, and I wasn't a human anymore. I was operating as a robot. It was just very
Mhm.
eye-opening, I guess. So I'm like, I kind of been through it all, and I've always been scared, I guess, to share things because as a kid, you're told, we don't talk about that, or you don't,
Right,
it's
right.
very taboo to talk about. And especially in our family, I was spanked when I was abused. So
Mhm,
that taught me that I don't speak about when things bad happen to me, and
mhm.
that was by my father. So now as an adult and after I've done some healing, I realize that's why I started doing podcasts because I think like I know I'm ready and I am not scared anymore, and I have found myself. And so now I just started putting myself out there, and I'm yelling my story, so if there's a young girl out there, please speak up.
That is, yes, first of all, my heart goes out to you. Thank you for your bravery and courage to share your story today. I hope that some of our listeners can feel inspired and take strength from your stories. That's so brave. Thank you very much for doing that. Um, it's clear you faced very intense struggles, the bullying, eating disorders, your husband's terminal illness. What was that turning point like for you when you made that change, that mindset shift to try a new approach to healing? What was that like?
Oh gosh. So, it's hard to talk about. I haven't talked about this yet. Um, I have 2 kids, obviously, and so I hit a point where I remember sitting with myself. I don't know why I'm crying. Let it
All
out.
right, let it out.
Um, I honestly was sitting on the bathroom floor with pills and was going to kill myself. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Um, my kids will be better off without me. My husband, like just all the trauma that I've been through, I was like, I don't think I can take anymore. And so strange enough, I have always been spiritual, and so my nana was spiritual, and I always would talk to her when I was in those pivotal points where I just was gonna break or when my exciting things happened, and she always gave us I had a dream catcher from her when I was a baby, and I've given my kids dream catchers, and I was in my bathroom, and I remember I was just done. I was like, "I can't do I don't know why I'm being put through it and put through it and put through it, and I'm trying to be a good person." And I remember just kind of yelling to her, like, why is this happening to me? Because she always told me, you're going to hit a point in your life and you're going to have a good life. I promise you, I see it for you. And it sounds silly enough, but my dream catcher started moving, and there's no wind in my bathroom. There's no, I couldn't figure out any other way to know why that thing spun around, but it did. And I just knew she was with me, and that was a moment I think I had been blocked from her and from the spiritual world and, like, my
Wow.
gift, I guess, for so long because I was so scared of it, that I just opened myself and was like, "I'm done hiding. I'm done not telling anybody how I feel. I need to tell somebody because this isn't okay, and my kids need me, and my husband needs me." And so I went to my husband and I told him, and I went and got help. I went and talked with a traditional therapist. I got on some medication, which mental health for me is like a huge part of my life that I want to make people understand that if you have depression, you have bipolar, you have anxiety, it's not a bad thing. You're not less of a human. There is thousands and thousands and millions of people that go through this, and it's just not talked about, and we need to talk about it because I felt like I couldn't talk about it because there's so much stigma that you're not a good mom if you have depression. You're not a good mom if you have bipolar. You're not a good mom if you have mental illness. So I did go to traditional therapy, and unfortunately it just wasn't a match for me. And so I didn't feel healed from it. It helped me get out of that part, but it helped open this world of I had a psychic medium reading to connect with my nana. And then it flooded from there.
Oh,
Everything just flooded from there. So I started doing tarot and oracle and really unblocking myself and healing all of those traumas, saying them all out loud, going through all the steps to heal yourself, working with like sound therapy. And it was just beautiful. Like, I can't explain the change of feeling so low and really like you can't do it to now. And if that's not hope for somebody, like, I wish I could give you the feeling, like, if you've been in that feeling where you felt like there's nothing left for you, to tell you when you get to the other side, when there is this full-hearted peace. Like, people talk about heaven. My body feels like heaven right now. Like, I have never felt full peace, and I promise you I want that for everyone. So that's why I started my journey of being a, like, transformational and healing coach,
mm-hmm.
because I want this for everybody. I want to share this. I want to scream this from the mountaintops. It's just something that I hope everybody in their lifetime gets to feel.
Brianna, that is incredible. That is so incredible. Like, seriously. Um, Louisa, I will share, she's shared many times on our podcast. She also went through an awakening a couple years ago, and she is also embracing her intuitive life too. I'm in the early stages of mine, so this is so resonating.
Yeah.
And um, yes, times a million. And I want to echo your message too, that for everyone, like, you can have the life you want. You can be happy, self-confident, love yourself. You know, I feel like self-love is a big buzzword out there these days.
Yeah.
Self-love, self-love, you know, but what does it really mean, right? Well, it means everything that you just said,
Yeah.
right? It's like actually being happy from the inside out, being just carefree, right? Not
Yeah.
caring if people are going to look at your clothes and make comments, or, you know, like, I'm vegan and I get a lot of comments on that too. People are like, oh, I
Yeah.
can never be vegan. What do you eat? Where do you get your protein? And I'm just like, oh, okay, come on now, people. It's
It's my
2024.
life.
Yeah, like, it's okay. You don't, yeah. But yes, I totally get that. So tell me, now that you're in this healthier, happier place, you know, how has your day-to-day life changed? What do you feel like is the most significant change that has really brought you happiness?
Oh gosh. The biggest thing for me, I think, at least a tool that I'd like to share, is the difference between intentions and affirmations. And so once I kind of understood that concept a little more, I've implanted that in my everyday life. So something that sounds so silly, but when you wake up in the morning, go to the mirror and look at yourself in the eyes. Don't just stare at the mirror. I want you to look at yourself in your eyes and tell yourself, I am beautiful. I am worthy. I am strong. And say those affirmations and mean them. Don't just say them because I'm telling you to. I want you to mean them to yourself, because when we're not kind to ourselves, how are we supposed to be kind to anyone else? And so I really had to sit with that, because I had never been kind to myself. I've never put myself first. And so when you start putting those intentions out into the world that positive things are coming for me, I see the positive things. So when something negative happens, I say, well, it happened to get me here, rather than before I would sit in that negative dwelling. And
Mm-hmm.
so it has been just transformational when your mindset changes, the beauty that opens up, truly.
That's amazing. I love that. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I'm coaching her soccer team now. And they don't keep score, but of course kids keep score, because
Yep.
who doesn't want to win, even though we tell them we don't. But my daughter's team, lost, I say in air quotes, this last weekend, and she was so sad about it. And I said, did you have fun? She was like, yeah. I'm like, okay, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
She's like, but we didn't win. I said, well, what did you learn from it? You learned
Yeah.
that maybe you need to work on passing or dribbling or whatever it was. And she kind of, got a little bit like, oh yeah, okay, I'll try to work on that. I can learn from it. And they said, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Try to find some little aspect of good in it. Try to be grateful in some way, right? So
Yeah.
grateful that you played this team, because now you're learning what you need to work on, and you're getting more experience to it. And so, yes, I love that message, that even there's some bit of good in everything,
Yeah,
right? Even bad things, like you're saying, it led you to where you are, all of us, right? If we haven't been through the journey we've been through, can't get here, right? If I had had just average, mediocre life, I wouldn't be here today, right?
exactly.
I'd still be kind of like sort of happy, sort of sad, right?
Yep. And I think that's an important thing to remember too, is because I have bad days too. And when I say I'm at full peace, it doesn't mean I don't have a bad day. I have bad
Mhm.
days. I wake up grumpy. I'm just vocal now. Like instead of being grumpy and taking it out on my loved ones, I'm like, hey guys, mom woke up super crabby today. Can I please have 5 minutes and some coffee? Whereas
Mhm.
before I was just not able to kind of get my emotions and work through them rather than suppressing them. So that's a big thing is when you are healed, you're going to still feel bad things. You're going to still feel emotions, but you'll know how to work through them rather than feeling
Mhm.
alone and stuck.
So let's say you wake up, you're having a bad day for whatever reason. What are some things that you do to get yourself unstuck?
So I've had to learn kind of like the self-care word being thrown around is putting myself first. And
Mhm.
that seemed so selfish to me to tell my kids, "Sorry, I'm having me time," and ignore them. It seems so neglectful to me because I'm like a helicopter mom because of my childhood. It wasn't that way. And I've had to
Uh-huh.
learn that's not neglecting my kids, that's putting myself first so I can be a better mom for my kids. So
Yeah.
simply like I love baths. Baths are um
Mm.
just really great for me and I don't ever do it. So when I'm really down in the depths or feeling like I'm kind of shifting from where I want to be, I will do a bath with candles, my crystals out, the whole get up, meditation,
Mhm.
and mom gets, a 30-minute bath, no interruptions, and I make time for it. So, and if I don't have a
Mhm.
lot of time, just a 5 minutes sitting with myself. I really connect with the indigenous because we have indigenous culture behind us. So I listen to like shamanic drums or um, music, powwow music, things to that extent to get my spirits a little bit up and just fully connect. And I grounding as well. I'm a big grounder. So
Mm.
going
Okay.
outside, sitting in the dirt, putting my feet in the soil, just giving things that I like to do and make me feel connected. I make sure to do that at least once a day. And I never would do that before. I wouldn't set aside the 5 minutes, but really it only takes 5 minutes. Go outside, take your shoes off, run through the grass. There's little things you can definitely do. Find what your niche is, whether that's a cup of coffee on the back patio or that's going and digging in the dirt. And I like to include my kids in that too because they enjoy that as well. But you have to find time for yourself and not feel guilty about it and fully give yourself those 5 or 10 minutes a day.
Yes. So beautiful. So for our listeners, can you explain what grounding is and why it's so beneficial?
Yes. So, I know everybody kind of takes from it differently. When I'm grounding, I connect it with myself and my self center to the universe. And so when I go to ground, and you can ground in a bazillion different ways, I'm a smudger as well. So that's something I do with grounding. I just like nature. So with me and nature, I will smudge our house. I will go outside in the dirt, and it's really just connecting yourself to your inner self and the universe all in one. So it feels like when you're just feeling connected and combobulated, I guess essentially, it's bringing that whole circle to like a peaceful moment. And so, and everybody kind of connects that different. Crystals are a great way. I've worked with crystals. I love crystals. I have them all over my house. And so, like, full moon nights is another one. I love the full moon night is my night. My kids know it. We all write intentions and put our mood water out, and it's a whole family event now. And then we all
Hmm.
feel not only grounded to oneself, but as a family unit. So those are just some things that we do. And for me, grounding is just like connecting to myself and then connecting to the universe. Or if, for instance, if you are religious or whatever you believe in, that's connecting you closer to that.
Hmm. I love how you get your kids involved
Yeah.
in the spirituality aspect. So important. Um, yeah, I just love that. Yeah, I have a 6-year-old, as I mentioned. I also have a almost 3-year-old.
Oh,
Friday, she'll be 3, which is crazy. Yes, and I love that too. That just teaching them like right from the start, from their
Yeah,
young age, how important it is to connect to Mother Earth, to the
yeah,
universe, and all the super easy ways, like you said, that you can do it.
exactly.
Um, yeah, I whenever my kids are feeling sad, I give them one of my crystals, and they're like get
There
all
you go.
happy, you know, and like you can take it to school, and they get all
Yep.
excited. Yeah, that's so sweet. What is? I'm curious to know what has that, you know, you've had this sort of spiritual awakening, we'll call it. What has that been like for you, that journey of that, and then including your whole family in that? What has that been like for you? Like kind of challenges of your own awakening process, and then looping your family into it too.
Oh gosh. It was interesting. um, my dad is not, I've kind of cut him out of my life. I've done a lot of, I guess, cutting the cord, as I call it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I I don't really have family. I know that that can be kind of controversial to some people, but I have set my boundaries, whereas I never used to do that. Um, with that piece came from standing my worth and blocking those relationships that didn't bring me peace. If people aren't
Mm-hmm.
contributing to your peace and your happiness, you don't have to feel guilty about getting rid of them, and it's not to hurt them. It's just for your happiness. And the only thing that matters is your happiness. And obviously, if you have children or relationship, I always say it's my maid family. So my maid family is my husband and my two kids. So that is the most important thing in my life. My mom is obviously my life. My stepdad was um, more of a religious Mormon belief system. He's honestly now swaying a little bit and opening up to the spiritual side with me. So that's been a really cool journey. Whereas very standoffish in the beginning. So that transition, my mom was very freaked out by it. But she was like, honestly, I knew it was coming because my Nana was this way. She used to tell
Yeah.
you before you were pregnant. She would say, "You're pregnant," or she would tell you
Mm-hmm.
very intuitive, very psychic. And she taught
Mm-hmm.
me things as a kid, but I was just so scared of it. And I realize now that that fear has been brought on by other things we don't need to go into today, but um, it was very interesting to see how people reacted. A lot of people kind of were like, "Yeah, I could see that in you. That's not very that strange." And then there was others that completely were like, "Nope, don't want you in my life. Like that's taboo. That's witchy. Please don't bring that around me."
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. I don't hold anything against them. I kind of came out, so to speak, on Facebook and was like, "This is what I'm doing. This is who I am. If you don't accept me, I'm sending my love from afar." So,
I have so much respect for you. I have found just in life in general, as I've gone on in years, as I've matured, as they say, um, trying to find who I really am and kind of come back to that, because my journey was like once I had kids, I feel like I totally lost myself. And now I'm like, okay, let's come back to myself. But who am I? I don't know, right? I'm not who I was when I was 20, but you know, who am I as a mom, as a person, as a wife? And yes, I agree. Some friends have been like, "You're not for me anymore," and it's been heartbreaking. But yeah, it's you're right. The best thing is just to kind of say goodbye with love, wish them well,
yeah,
and make space for new people to come into your life.
exactly.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Definitely not an easy thing to do, but you know, you kind of can tell it's the right thing, right?
Yeah, and I think
Feels
the
right.
more you do it, you realize that those people might not have been as healthy as you thought they were. And so you start to
Yes.
see some things that you're like, "Hey, maybe I was allowing some things to happen that shouldn't been," and you'll start to see your peace. The more you look for that positive outlet, the more you start searching for that peace and saying you're only gonna allow that peace, it just blossoms.
Mm-hmm. That's so beautiful. Okay, so now, Brianna, we have to ask you the most important question. We want to know, what was that pivotal moment when you decided to fly upstream?
So I think that pivotal moment was, my, I guess, suicidal downfall, and that set me to my I don't wanna say my worth necessarily, but realizing my purpose. And so once I started doing tarot and oracle, I did a read, and I've shared on another podcast I did, but I did a read for a boy who was going to commit suicide. And my energy and the cards pulled it up, and he was able to bring his mom in and able to speak with her about it. And that was a huge pivotal moment for me to know that I was on my path. Because it was kind of full circle. Like when I was down in the dumps and had no one to talk to about it and just kept pushing it down, it was like this healing aspect almost for me through this boy that I was like, I wish I could have had someone to help me talk to my mom about it. And so it was just a really beautiful, pivotal moment that just kind of confirmed with me, because I was like, I always ask, like, can you give me a sign that I'm on the right path? Can you, am I doing the right thing? And that was a huge just, how can you deny that? Like, what are the odds that I get into a reading and this is the subject? But he was able to totally open up, and his mom went and they got help. He still talks to me this day. He's doing great. So it was just a huge pivotal moment for me to know that although some people don't believe or some people don't see it in a positive light, I hope that they can just understand it more than just putting it out right away, because I'm not doing it for selfish reasons. I'm doing it for healing purposes only. Like I always tell people, I don't entertain winning the lottery questions. We don't entertain death questions.
Right.
It's solely for self-healing. So that was a huge pivotal moment for me to have essentially saved somebody.
That's huge. I mean, what more could you ask for in terms of confirmation that you're on the right path?
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Briana, thank you so much for sharing your journey from pain to healing with us today. We've loved having you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, free spirits, thank you for tuning in today. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review to support more stories of transformation and hope. And remember, every challenge is an opportunity for growth. So make sure, embrace your journey with courage and curiosity.